Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit.
Yo, it is Radio Pulpit, your daily companion. Heart to Heart is the name of the show. I am Sibongile Mofokeng with you up until 3 o'clock. Give you the sounds of Kanam Songo, Lolwako, and that's how we say hello to you, family. It's exactly 12 minutes, just after 12, right here on 657 AM, Radio Pulpit, your daily companion. And yeah, family, yesterday we started something. I had a great interview with our actor Mukharitsi yesterday, and it was talking about the clothes, the sports clothes, and sports equipment. And we are saying unto family, even today, as I was talking to him, we are calling on family. We are asking you to donate your new or used sports clothes and equipment from tomorrow, the 14th of Feb, up until the 22nd of Feb. And we are mostly asking for um, sports equipment and clothes for athletics, soccer, cricket, hockey, netball, and rugby. And yes, the sports clothes and equipment can be delivered here at our offices at 42 Yakuaba Street in Kilner Park in Pretoria from 8 o'clock up until 14:30. I mean, 16:30, not 14, but 16:30 on a daily basis, weekdays, Monday to Fridays. On Saturdays, there's no one here, so you won't find anyone. But if you come on Monday to Friday, you'll find us from 8 up until 16:30. And we are catering for our young people. If you'd like to talk to us, we are available on gospel at radiopulpit.co.za. Our website is radiopulpit.co.za. And right now in studio, I'm excited. She has been with us for on the line, on the phone, and I don't know if at some point we did have some load shedding with her. Did we have some load shedding? Do you
We
remember?
did actually.
Ooh, it was bad. It was bad. The load shedding was load shedding us. And I'm so delighted she's in the studio for the eerste keer for the first time. And that is our tech specialist, Sis Patricia Khomani. Woo! Yeah. Welcome, my queen. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, and hello to the family.
Yeah.
I'm doing well, thank you for
So are you
asking.
packed inside?
I beg your pardon?
Are you packed inside? Did you pack inside?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, I hope you're packed inside. Your first time at Radio Pulpit. How's the experience today?
I am so excited. I am
You look
excited.
elated. Yeah.
No, it's great to be here, and I'm just looking forward to share the knowledge that I have
Mhm.
with regards to tax, and obviously as well because we know that business is part of the kingdom of God as well. So
Ish.
we need to share all the information that we can share
We
regarding
we
business.
have been called into the marketplace, and we need to
Yes,
know how it works when it comes to taxes. And Jesus says unto us, give God what belongs to God, and give Caesar.
what belongs to Caesar.
Ooh, and the tax is what belongs to Caesar, right?
Exactly.
So let's start by asking this question first before we go into a company that's registered with CIPC. Let's ask about what kind of or which businesses can pay tax. Do all businesses pay tax? Qualify to pay tax?
So with that, the good thing about tax or the bad thing about tax is there's no black and white answer.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the answer to that is yes. However, there
Yes,
are
everyone should pay tax.
generally speaking,
Okay.
however, there are exemptions where
Yeah.
other companies, depending on the industries that they're in, or if they qualify for certain requirements by SARS, then they don't have to pay tax. So I'll give an example, right? With the PBO. So PBO stands for Public Benefit Organization.
Mhm.
We know them as normal organizations, non-profit organizations. If they qualify based on SARS requirement,
Mm.
then they don't have to pay tax. But you
Okay.
might find that there are some other non-profit organizations that don't meet the qualifications by SARS,
Mm.
and they might pay tax. So blanket cover, yes.
Hey.
However, you need to go deeper to see whether they meet certain requirements or not,
Okay,
and they
so are
might
we
not.
looking at an NPO and NPC when you're talking about non-governmental? Because there is an NPC which is a non-governmental or what?
Company, non-profit
A
company.
non-profit company. And I'm like, okay, what's the use?
So
And you have to pay tax when you're a non-profit company.
if you don't qualify as a PBO,
Okay.
yeah. So the non-profit organization, a
Uh-huh.
non-profit company,
Yes.
they practice the same thing. The only difference is
Uh-huh.
one has been registered with CIPC and the other one hasn't. So
So
that's why
which
then the
is
other one,
which?
the non-profit company is registered with
With
CIPC. So
okay.
that company, when you hear company,
Company.
they know that it's under CIPC
Uh-huh.
registrations.
All right. So I'm starting my own thing there at home. I'm doing welding. I'm fixing sofas like Obab Makamu.
Yeah,
I own taxis. Should I be registered with CIPC?
that's interesting.
Yeah,
And
because I have a workshop. Like my garage is my workshop.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yo, I'm not even quite sure how much am I making right now. My head doesn't want to tell me right now, but
So I would say it depends on what your main goal is, right?
okay.
Because there's something called sole proprietor,
Mm.
meaning that you're running the business in your personal capacity,
Hmm.
right? So when you're running the business in your personal capacity, everything is being recognized and recorded as Sibongile. And when you're submitting the tax return, it will be based on Sibongile's tax return. So you would have the welding income, the
Uh-huh.
welding expenses, and any other income that Sibongile is generating, right? So
Okay.
that's under sole proprietor.
Oh.
Then there's the company. When you now register the company itself.
Uh,
So remember, legally, the company and an individual, they're completely separate identities.
mm,
So the
mm,
moment you register the company, then it is the company that has to pay taxes.
mm,
And the
mm,
reason why I said it depends on what your objective is.
mm.
You might not want to grow the business, right? You might be comfortable with where things
As
are.
long as you
Yes,
having food
as
and you
long
can
as you're
pay
having
this
food and
fees. Yes.
exactly.
Okay.
So if that's the case and you know that you don't want to go through the administration that comes with that, then rather just stick with sole proprietorship. And the other main thing that you need to look at
Uh,
actually
uh,
is the tax. So this is what we talk about in terms of tax strategy, right? You need to consider if I have all this income under my personal capacity,
mm,
and if I move this thing into a company,
mm,
which one is going to save me tax wise?
mm.
Because let's assume right now Sibongile is on the tax bracket of 18%.
All right.
Then she puts in the welding business and all the other income all the other side businesses that she has, right?
Mm,
Then it pushes you to 45%, right? So now you're paying taxes at 45%,
yeah.
even though you've got all of the other expenses that you're producing.
Mm,
Then you can have a company where then the company pays taxes at 28%. And the 28% is also general. It depends, once again, going to back what I said, there are some other requirements. So if that company qualifies as a small business,
mm,
they might pay on a different tax bracket altogether. So
mm,
you need to weigh and see which one is tax beneficial. Is it the sole proprietor or is it the company? One.
mm.
Two, what is my objective? Do I want to grow this business? Is this something that's going to scale? Or am I just happy with the way things are? You
Yeah.
know, because other than the paying taxes, I jokingly like saying the moment you register with CIPC,
Yeah.
it's the same thing as if you're getting married. You know, when you get married, I spongulate, take bang bang
It comes
to
with
be,
its
it
own.
comes with its own, and you
Yeah.
have made a covenant. So that's how I look at it. It's the same thing. The moment you register, there are requirements, responsibilities that come with that.
Yeah.
There's administration requirements that
Mm-hmm.
come with that. So is that something that you want to do? Is it worth it? Then
Mm,
you make your decision. But don't just, create a company because hashtag everybody wants to be, an entrepreneur and say that I have a company.
mm, mm. So this is where we're talking about the compliance
Yes.
of the business for paying tax.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Thina sifuna ukuhlala nje and receive everything. Makancane nge-tax.
And the thing is, Bongile,
Yeah.
even though the company is not registered, in your individual capacity, you are still required to pay taxes. So you're not going to run away from taxes as long as you are generating income. I think that's another thing that we always need to highlight.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's no running away as
No.
long as.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it provisional tax
Yes.
differ or how does it differ from income tax?
So they're not different,
Is it one
right?
thing?
It's one thing. However,
Yeah.
provisional tax is a
Yeah.
system, right?
Mm,
So maybe let's just go back a little bit. You register the company with CIPC, right?
mm,
The moment you register a company with CIPC, what CIPC does then is automatically register your company with SARS. Then you've got a tax number, right? Which then means that you are
Wait, wait,
obligated.
wait, wait. So it's not like when you do. Okay, I keep and I wanted to talk about that some other time, but
Okay.
I keep going back to it. With the NPO, you have to go and register it yourself
Yes,
with SARS,
yes. And that's because you're not registered under CIPC.
CIPC.
So
But with
if
CIPC, it's an immediate
it's an
thing,
immediate thing.
right?
So with your example, right?
Mm,
If we take the non-profit company,
mm,
that would be automatically registered
okay,
as by
okay,
CIPC.
okay.
And the moment you're automatically registered, or let me say your company is automatically registered, it goes back to what we're talking about the responsibilities. You are obligated to submit a tax return, annual tax return, income tax return,
Whether you're making
whether
money
you're
or
making
not.
money or not, whether you are trading or not. Because sometimes you are trading, but you're not making profit, right? And the other times you're not trading at all. You created this company and you're like,
It's just sitting there.
yeah, next time, tomorrow, one day is one day, I'll deal
You
with it
even
then.
forget about it until they
Yes,
call you and they say you're registered.
exactly.
I know that one. Yo.
So whether you are trading or not, you still need to submit tax returns, right?
Uh-huh.
Then provisional tax
Mm,
comes in when SARS says, okay, fine, we need to create a system in place.
yeah.
These companies, most probably they're generating profit.
Mm,
And because they're generating profit, the chances are high that they're going to have taxes that they need to pay. Now you've got a 12-month period that you have been trading, right?
mm,
And you're only paying taxes in the following financial year,
mm,
or
mm,
right?
mm,
The chances of you keeping money to pay those taxes are slim.
mm.
Then they came with the idea of the provisional tax. We're going to put a system in place where then you
Okay.
submit tax returns biannually. So the first
Yes.
6 months, you do your estimate calculation. If there's tax payables, you pay that portion there.
Mm,
Then the next 6 months, which then would be the 12 months now, right? So
mm,
the last
mm,
financial month of your business,
mm,
you do another provisional tax calculation.
mm,
You calculate the tax payable, you subtract whatever you paid for the first provisional tax, then you pay the balance.
mm,
So now, when you're actually doing or submitting your income tax return, if there's any taxes that you have to pay, most probably it will be very minimal and
mm,
it's easier for you to handle. So it brings cash flow and planning for the business.
mm,
And of course, it's also cash flow for SARS because now they're getting income, which is tax is the income, right?
mm.
So they're getting income within those periods as well, instead of waiting for that one specific period.
So have we really answered the question of the business submitting their tax returns, even when they're not trading? But I understand. I'm not sure. You will correct me.
Yeah.
But there's a certain money, even if you're not trading, that you have to pay every year for keeping that company right there. Am I correct?
So that is now with CIPC.
Yes.
And I'm glad you asked that question because going back to the responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
You've got CIPC where
Mm,
you've now registered the company.
mm,
And for the fact that you've registered the company, you need to pay a specific fee,
mm,
right? They call it the levies.
mm,
And that levy, it can vary depending on your turnover for the year.
mm,
But whether you are trading or not, whether you have made zero amount or not, there's a specific amount that you have to pay.
mm.
So you need to pay that on an annual basis, and you need to submit what we call an annual return
So what
with
happens if you don't?
CIPC. Then, if you don't consistently, the company might be deregistered. But in
Okay.
the short period of terms, then they charge you penalties. So every single time you don't submit that levy, that annual return, and make that payment of the levy, then they charge you penalties. So
Mm,
that's CIPC,
mm,
right?
mhm,
You still have SARS. So these are two different things.
mm,
You submit your CIPC,
mm,
you have to submit with SARS.
mm,
You have to submit with both of them. And also with going back to what happens if you don't.
mm,
So if you don't submit your return with SARS,
mm,
whether there's taxes that you have to pay or not, you will be penalized, administration penalty. So they're penalizing you for simply not submitting the return when you know very well that you should.
mm,
And then you know very well that's the assumption that SARS made, right? You
mm,
should know. That's
mm,
the assumption. You should know that because you have a company, these are the responsibilities that come with that. And one
mm,
of them is for you to submit your return every single year.
So it's a must.
It's a must.
So Foro Caesar is tired, ne? To throw us to jail. So he'd rather just deregister the company. Because in the past, I believe people were arrested for that.
then you still can.
You still can be
It's
arrested.
yeah. When it comes to SARS part of it, right? Submitting tax return, it's in the act. So
But if you're not making any,
that's irrelevant. So the law,
sure,
I
all
know
right,
that sounds harsh.
it
The
is.
law, the law says you are supposed to submit tax return, right?
Ah,
Should you not submit tax return, SARS can penalize you.
mm,
It's a criminal offense. Or you can be imprisoned for
mm,
about 2 years, if I remember correctly.
mm,
So that law is still there. That hasn't changed.
mm,
The only thing is they hardly utilize that,
mm,
but they can. It's still within their rights to do it if they want to.
mm. So for those ones who have forgotten about that business that they registered some years back,
Yeah,
they should go visit, fix things
it's always
or
there.
other deregister.
Yes, and so yes,
Okay, all right. Here comes the no.
so in order for you to deregister,
Uh-huh.
everything needs to be compliant. So meaning
So
that
you have to
you
start
have
with
to submit
paying. So if you haven't
everything.
paid for like 5 years, you have to pay that levy for 5 years, settle things with SARS, and then
Yeah. And then the levy, you need to remember the levy is now at CIPC, right?
mm,
So with SARS, if you have no um, income that you generated,
mm,
right, or your company is not trading,
mm,
then that means that there's actually no money or no income for you to stipulate on your
yes,
tax return.
yes,
So there'll be no taxes for you to pay,
mm,
right? You just have to submit. However, there will be penalties that they can charge you for
mm,
not submitting. That's the cool thing, I guess, with SARS that you don't, if you don't have any profit, then there's no taxes on because you have nothing, right?
mm,
But you have to pay penalties if they have charged you penalties. And I'm saying if they have charged you because it's not always automatic. They have to charge you penalties first.
mm,
However, with CIPC, going back to the levy that you're referring to,
mm,
in order for if they haven't deregistered you already, because sometimes they deregister you by themselves.
mm.
So if they
They
haven't,
even send you an email.
yes, notifying you, we are in the deregistration process.
Mm.
You still have a
So
chance to
are
fix
you
yourself.
a lucky fish if they do register you?
Eh, So
Yes and no.
it depends. And I'm saying so I guess that's the beauty about these things. It's never black and white, right? I'll give you two scenarios.
Okay.
Let's say I'm not trading
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot about my business or my company and SARS deregistered, I mean CIPC deregistered me.
Mm.
It's a win for me, right? It takes me out from the
It feels like it.
yeah, it takes me out of the administration
Yes.
hassle. However, you still need to deregister SARS. So SARS does not automatically deregister you. So there's still that one leg that you need to deal with, right? And let's take another company that for whatever reason they're not
Mm.
submitting this stuff, but they're actually trading, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So and because you're not submitting,
Masilawa is focus.
so, so now because you are not submitting this annual levy, right?
Uh-huh.
For a long period, you've been getting the warnings and everything, but for whatever reason you're not submitting, they deregister you. That's a problem because your company is actually trading. What happens now? You've got assets in the company. So hence I'm saying it's not black and white. You actually have to look at situation per situation,
And what
circumstance per
happens with you
circumstance.
in SARS then if you are trading and then, ooh, you haven't been submitting?
So if you are trading and you haven't been submitting, and let's assume you're supposed to pay taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
One, you still get the administration penalties.
Mm-hmm.
That goes for everyone who's not submitting because you're now submitting late.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you once you submit, obviously then there's taxes that will reflect. There'll be interest charged on those taxes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there will be penalties for late submission.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got administration penalty you need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You've got late payment penalties that you need to deal with. You've got interest that you need to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as the actual taxes that you need to deal with.
So what if I am a musician or an
Mhm.
artist of some sort? Because at the end of the day, the artists themselves are the business.
Yeah,
You are the brand. How
yeah,
does it work?
the,
Because we see and read about some of them on the papers to say they owe this much and
yeah,
they can be arrested. So
yeah.
how does it work?
So that would go back to the whole same structure as the sole proprietor, right? Because then everything that
So wait, CIPC and SARS sees you not as you. not as a being, but sees you as a business.
SARS sees you as a business.
Okay.
CIPC does not, unless if
Okay.
you register a
Yourself.
company,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So the only time CIPC gets involved is when then you register a company, saying, okay, fine, I want a company. I want to separate myself, Patricia, gospel musician of the year.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and now my my business, myself, the brand, right, is growing so well. It's generating me income, and it's just so much that I can't handle it anymore. I need some sort of structure, and I've decided I'm going to create a company.
Mm,
I'm now literally separating myself
mm.
from the brand.
So the company itself will be responsible for itself,
Yes,
the taxes and everything else.
yes. But then should I choose not to register the company, then
Yes.
everything falls
Or
under Patricia.
Patricia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
then
Patricia has to pay the
so
taxes
SARS will go straight to
to Patricia.
Patricia now.
Correct.
So is this what we see happening with our musicians and
Yes.
artists?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's why it's very important to make sure that, especially when you're generating so much income, at least you've got some sort of either a tax consultant or someone within the finance,
And you should
to
make
be
sure they are
able.
doing their job.
And that you should make that is very important. You should make sure that they're doing their job, and you should also understand what is happening within your business,
Yeah.
whether the
You
business
can't
is
be just
you.
standing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because then at the end of the day, it's still your responsibility, right? So you need to know what's happening, and you need to make sure that they're doing what you have asked them to do.
All right, let's take a break. We're coming back, and family, you can talk and ask questions. Our text specialist is still here. My queen, Patricia Khomani. The lines are open. So you can talk to us on 012-334-1322. It's 012-334-1322. Alternative, you can write us an SMS on 37871. Do remember you'll be charged 150 for that. You can also send us a WhatsApp on 082-657-2729. It's 082-657-2729. And we are live on Facebook. I see Kodisile Chobonga. It also said something there. Is it Kodisile that you know?
No,
How kanjani? Awumazi uKolisile kanjani? Sounds like somebody you would know, my queen. Aye, aye, aye. All right, let's take a break. We're taking the sounds of Monkey and Colin. Be lifted.
Plug in, feel the pulse on Heart to Heart with Sibongile Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit.
usitshele ukuthi ucabangani. Sicela ukuzwa uvo lwakho. Ungasithinta ku-gospel@radiopulpit.co.za noma usithumele iWhatsApp ku-082 657 2729. Radio Pulpit, umngani wakho wemihla ngemihla.
It's here. Radio Pulpit's new website is live. You can tune in at radiopulpit.co.za and enjoy crystal clear sound with just a click of a button. Or listen to our podcasts. Discover biblical truths in our daily devotionals and let our stories of hope inspire you. You can download our app on this new look, easy to use platform. Find your favorite program, get to know our presenters, and so much more at radiopulpit.co.za. Radio Pulpit, your daily companion.
It is Radio Pulpit, your daily companion, 657 AM. This is where you at, heart to heart. It is with me, Sibongile Mofokeng, with you up until 3 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, Germany, Johan takes you through with something else. Kodwa kwamanje, we're still together. And I gave you the sounds of Bongi and Colin being lifted. 20 minutes, it is just before 1. And I am not alone in the studio. I'm with our tax specialist. And I'm talking about this is Patricia Khomani. And yes, she's ready to take your questions. You can call in 012-334-1322 is the number that you can dial and consult Merons in the studio. You can also send us an SMS on 37871. Do you remember that that will cost you R1.50? You can also send us a WhatsApp like Matato did, or a telegram on 082-657-2729. Or you can write to us on our Facebook page, as Kolisile did it as well. So you can also write your question right there while she's still here. Once she's gone, Maukamba, my queen, I won't know what to say. I'm not a tech specialist. Go provincial and income tax. Ooh, I don't know. That's out of my scope. Talk to me about radio, then we're talking. So you can ask your questions, my family. The lines are open for you. And we'd like to hear from you. It's all about your business and tax. So you owning a business and you want to know more about that. She's in the house to can answer your question. Okay, Matata writes, my queen, and says, afternoon, Sibo and your guest. How does provincial tax affect the pensioner?
Okay, assuming that this is now in the personal capacity of this pensioner,
Mm,
um, for individuals, in order for you to be a provisional taxpayer, it's not automatic,
mm,
right?
mm,
It all depends if you are generating certain type of income other than your remuneration. So obviously, if you're a pensioner, the assumption is you're no longer working, so remuneration is already out of the picture. But let's assume now you've got other income. So you have a property, you're generating rental income from there, you have investments and they're generating interest income
mm.
for above 34,000 rand. I might stand corrected on that amount for pensioners, right? So if you've got those sort of income, then you are required to submit provisional tax as a pension. If you don't, then it's not an
What
obligation.
about pensioners who are on GEPF
Then the only thing they have to do is just submit the tax return at the end of the financial year.
and GEPF does that for them?
They have to do it themselves.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not GEPF who does it on them. Are they being taxed?
No, not necessarily. And I'm
Mm.
saying not necessarily because it also, once again,
Because
it
it is their
depends.
tax man
Yes,
from.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, Matato, uqedile ukumphendula my queen?
Yes.
All right.
I guess he or she should just let us know if it's
It's
clear.
on a personal capacity or
Yeah.
now,
So if it's
would
not a
I be?
business, then
Yes.
it's not relevant.
Because I was going to ask if I'm a pensioner now and I'm old, but
Yeah.
I have a business.
Your business still has to, because remember, your business is it's separate
When I
entity
register,
altogether.
are there no special perks for me because now I'm 65 and I'm starting a new business to make chocolate?
No, we're just grateful that you're bringing employment. But there's no special treatment when it comes to the company, because when you're dealing with a company,
Mhm.
they're not looking at the age of the shareholder, the owner of the company. They're not looking at that. They're looking at the company itself. What is the company generating? Is the company making profit or not?
Mm.
If the company is making profit, taxable profit, and I'm saying taxable profit because not all income is actually taxable, right?
Mm.
So if they're making taxable profit, right, or taxable income, then there'll be taxes that have to be paid based on the requirements of a company,
Mm.
whether the owner of the company is a pensioner or not. But if he's talking about in the personal capacity of the
Then
pensioner,
it's
then
different.
it's different,
Totally.
totally different.
Totally different. How do I know that I am making what a profitable company worthy of tax, being taxed?
Okay, so
I hope my question makes sense.
it does. Let's We'll use me, MPK Consultancy, right? Because we claim MPK Consultancy makes 10 million rand in a year,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And then has 8 million rand. I'm just giving a very blank
Mm.
example, right?
Mm.
8 million rand expenses.
Mm.
Let's assume that all expenses are deductible.
Mm.
Then you say 10 million less 8 million, right? It
Mm.
gives me 2 million profit.
Mm.
So that means because my income is more than my expenses, I am
Mm.
making profit. And if we just use a general example, assuming that my profit is taxable income, and then there'll be taxes on that 2 million. So it'll be 28% times 2 million.
Mm.
That's the taxes that I would have to pay, or my business would have to pay.
Mm.
So it's always on the profit that the company has made,
Okay, always on the profit.
always on the profit, in accordance to the Income Tax Act. So once again, let's use the same example.
Mm.
Let's say I'm going to use smaller numbers to remember the
Yeah,
calculation.
because here's a man who's a welder who's making a gate,
Yeah,
and then
let's
how
let's
much are they earning? Yes,
let's say
the
um
profits they're making at the end. Yeah.
yeah, let's say he makes um 4,000 rand of income when he does his business, right? And then he needs to take out all the expenses. So the welding, it costed him,
Yeah.
right? Um, he might have laborers which he has to pay. It
Mm.
costed him.
Mm.
Those expenses that he has to now deduct from that.
Mm.
So from the 4,000, at the end of the month, after he makes all his deductions, all his payments that he
Mm.
needs to make on that, he has 1,200 rand,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
We're using a month example here, right? So
Right.
let's say this 1,200, he does the same for 12 months,
Mm.
right? So that would be, I don't know,
Mhm.
12,000
Mhm.
something.
Mm.
On that, he will still be taxed at 28%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he will be taxed at 28%.
As
But
a
if he makes
company,
as a company, but if
yes,
he makes lesser than that, still you're
still
fine.
28%. So here's the thing. Maybe this is actually a good way where we get it. There
Yes.
is something called small business corporation within SARS.
Mm.
Not every single business qualifies for this.
Yes. Because I'm like, oh, but
There are requirements. So one of the requirements is your more than 80% of your income cannot be investment. So meaning that you cannot make 80% from your total income, 80% of it can't be interest income,
Mm.
right? It has to be the actual trade that you're trading in,
Mm.
right? If it's
Mm.
80%, cool, we take. If your turnover is less than 20 million, and I'll just confirm with you,
Mm.
to just make sure it's the right number, but I
Mm.
think it is 20 million, then TIG, right? Do you have employees?
I got two.
Minimum three.
Okay.
And they should not be related to you,
Yeah.
right? So if your answer is yes, then TIG, right?
Mm.
So if he has a company and then in that welding company he's got employees more than three, not related to him, most of his income comes from the 80%. He does not have shareholding in other companies.
Mm.
Um, more than 5%. So I can be a shareholder of company X, but
Mm.
my shareholding can be more than 5%. So if all of those requirements are ticked,
Mm.
right? We said yes to all of them.
Mm.
Then that company can be formed or be known as a small business corporation. If it is known as a small business corporation, then there's tax brackets. You know, the same way there's tax brackets for individuals, where somebody pays 18%, someone pays whatever percent.
25
Yeah,
and less and less and
yeah.
less. Mm.
It's the same thing. So then you have some companies might not pay taxes at all,
Mm.
even though they've made profit, right?
Oh, so you can pay less or nothing at all,
You can pay
depending.
less or nothing at all,
Depending.
and you might also pay 28%, depending on which tax bracket now you're falling under. It's just
You.
that now you've been given the opportunity to not just pay flat out 28%. You might now find yourself in a position where you don't pay taxes at all, but you need to meet those requirements. So just because you consider the business as small business in terms of our normal, terminology, does not necessarily mean that that's the same with SARS. You need to meet the specific requirements. If the company meets those requirements, then yes.
Mm. Okay, so when it comes to an individual who does small jobs, I know we're talking business and tax,
Yes.
doing small jobs, they haven't registered themselves, they're no company as well, but they are, we call them what, freelancers.
Mm.
Uh-huh. So they're doing freelance work. How does it work when it comes to the tax? Will they, or are they expected to account for the monies that go into their in and out of their accounts at the end?
Yes. So then the freelancer would fall under individual, right?
Mm,
So as an individual, you are required to submit tax returns if you are generating income. So you are generating income as a freelancer,
yeah.
right? And if that income is more than 73,000 Rand in the year,
Mm.
then you are required to pay taxes and submit
If it's more than,
income, 73,000 Rand
yes.
in the year,
So if
right?
it's less,
If it's less,
ijele
then
ngwana ko gae.
yeah.
Enjoy your money.
However, because now you're a freelancer, right?
Yeah,
You are supposed to submit provisional tax returns.
of course.
Yeah. So now instead of just having that one tax return that we all submit,
Mm,
they have three tax returns that they need to submit
mhm,
minimum.
mhm. All right. So does my business have to be registered for that?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not automatic. Let me
It's
put it
not
that
a,
way.
is it, it's not a must
It's
as well?
it's not automatic.
Is it a must?
It's not automatic. And
Running away from my must. Okay, it's not
it's
automatic.
not automatic.
What does that mean?
That means if you meet the specific requirements. So if your company is making a taxable supply
Uh-huh.
of over 1 million rand, then it is a must
Mm,
for you to be VAT registered,
mm,
right?
mm.
If your company is making taxable supplies of 50,000, you can volunteer to register for
Okay.
that if you want to. It's not compulsory. But the moment you hit the 1 million threshold, then it's a must.
Mm,
Less than 1 million, you don't have to. You can volunteer, but you don't have to. And I guess this is when then on the you can volunteer part, you need to weigh your benefits, opportunity cost, right?
mm.
You might find yourself in a situation where the company or the industry that you are in, most of your clients are VAT registered, and they're saying, "Hey, we understand you're not VAT registered and you don't
Mar,
have to, but if you want our service,
we need the
we
vet
need the
number.
VAT number."
Yeah.
So then you have to look at it. Okay, would it benefit more for me to register even though I don't have to?
Mm,
If that's the case, um, will it bring me more income other than you paying that? Because remember, the VAT is just an extra portion. It's not your money.
mm,
It's the 15% of whatever you're charging.
mm.
That 15% goes to source. So it does not necessarily affect the actual income that you're generating. The only problem with that is your customers, if they're not that registered, right?
Mm,
They're paying the whole amount. So for them, it doesn't really matter whether 15% goes to SARS and the rest goes to you. For them, it's I am paying this whole amount,
mm,
and therefore you're now 15% more expensive for me. So you need to weigh all of those things
mm.
when if you want to volunteer or not. So that's if it's less than 1 million. If it's over 1 million, you actually don't have a choice. you know, you have to
So
register.
that's where the must come
That's
in.
where the must comes in.
My queen, thank you so much for educating us on these. I think our next time we will be talking to NPOs.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, NPOs and tax. There are so many things that we think we know, but we do not know. In closure for today, what is it that we should be taking home with?
What you should be taking home with is before you register for a company, you need to understand that it comes with responsibilities. Responsibility number one is every single company is required to submit tax returns, and it is required to submit provisional tax returns, whether you are trading or not, whether you are making a profit or not. And also with regards to CIPC, for the
Mm.
fact that that company is registered, you are required to submit annual levy returns and make the levy payment on an annual basis. So that is one, right? Two would be you don't have to register for that if your turnover or your taxable supplies is less than 1 million. You can volunteer, but you don't have to. And it's also very important that for those who are asking in their personal capacities,
Mm.
you've got side hustle or any of the
Yeah.
sort, make sure you keep records of your stuff because SARS will want supporting documentations. They're not just gonna take your word for it that,
Mm.
yeah, I made a loss of 20,000 Rand. Where's the evidence? So make sure that you keep your records. Know what expenses you can deduct because most companies sometimes they end up paying taxes simply because they didn't know the benefits that they had, right?
Mm.
So know the expenses that you can deduct, know the special allowances that is within the Income Tax Act that your businesses can claim so that you can reduce your taxes. And most importantly, never make a tax decision in isolation and never make a business decision in isolation of tax because those two go hand in hand. So when you're making a decision, always look at what are the tax implications on this decision that I'm making
Mm.
and also what is the economy implication for my business
Mm.
because you might find yourself in a situation where you're trying to avoid the tax implication here,
Mhm.
but by doing so you're actually losing out
Mm.
on your business side,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Or
Mm.
you're trying to gain on the business side, but by doing so you found yourself in bigger problems which costs you more than if you had avoided that transaction altogether. So you always have to look at both and see how can you work around it to make sure that it's effective, efficient for your business. You're doing what you want to do, make money, but at the same time, you're also being tax savvy.
Wow, thank you so much, my queen. So if we would like to have your services or if you'd like to ask you questions, are you reachable?
Yes.
Mm.
So we are on all social platforms
Mm.
as NPK Consultancy.
Mhm.
And also, our email address is info at npkconsultancy.co.za. So, N for November, P for Patricia, and K for King or whatever, consultancy.co.za.
Mhm. And so what can we be on the lookout for next time?
Whenever you want, Miss Monkey, I'm ready.
What can we be what can we be on the lookout for? Because your NPOs it's a range. We have so many NPOs.
And you're right, it's very important to have this discussion because once again, NPOs also affect businesses. And I'm saying this because let's say an NPO is registered for SARS, you're now considered as a public benefit organization, right?
Mhm.
This is just a high level because we're going to have this discussion
Yeah, yeah,
sometime.
yeah.
They give something called a Section 18A. If the company uses that, they can deduct that donation they've made. So
Mm.
now you're reducing on the company side your taxes, and the NPO, because it's registered as a PBO, doesn't have to pay taxes.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're right. It is a very important conversation to have
Mhm.
because not all NPOs are
Mhm.
tax exempt. It's not automatic.
Mhm. Thank you so much, my queen. May the Lord keep keeping you. It's awesome to
Amen.
listen to you and learn. And I hope, family, we've been writing notes and we are going to even consult when we have to. It's NPK Consultancy on all social media platforms.
Correct.
And if you'd like to talk to Sis Patricia and her team, info at NPO, is it info dot?
Info,
At,
info,
at,
info NPK. No, sorry, info
info
at
at,
NPK
yes.
Consultancy.
I wanted to be sure, is it
Yeah.
info dot or is it info? So it's info at npkconsultancy.co.za. Or it's awesome to learn, and we thank God that we are able to learn from the comfort of our houses,
Yeah.
bringing such information to us. So let's follow her on all social media platforms as well, ask questions, and let's get better, especially us in the Christendom. We need to be, yeah,
Yes,
they need to, we need to be an example in
we
the whole
do.
country and the world. Say, yeah, those ones know they keep to the law. May God keep keeping you. And we are crossing over to the 1 o'clock news bulletin. And yeah, she will be back. I promise that. NPK Consultancy on all social media platforms. Info at npkconsultancy.co.za.
Passionate about God, passionate